from Marsha also into the semi-finals, and no surprise, Uptown Rebels into the semi-finals, convincing victory 3-0. I was able to take in that game, a waterlogged Philip Massey grounds, and still saw that team coming out 3-0. Obviously the favorites to win. And later on we will definitely be talking briefly on veterans. We saw the grand launch, and I mean grand launch of veterans football, and so we'll be taking in a little bit of that. But like I said, some other information coming in. The OCS Swimming Championship is this weekend. St. Lucia, we're trying to get individuals to go over to the Rodney Heights Aquatic Center to support our team. St. Lucia is looking to pretty much dethrone Grenada, who are the champions of the OCS Swim Championship, and so we see 34 persons are selected, 5 are on reserves for the team this weekend. So we will see a lot going on at the Rodney Heights Aquatic Center. It gets off on November 10th, that's Friday, from 5 p.m. And also it goes on the 11th at 10, and then the 12th also at 10 a.m. So lots of swimming on the weekend, so you guys should make an effort to take in some of that and support our swimmers. The St. Lucia National Swimming Association, they've done a lot in terms of trying to get persons to come out and support this event. Football, the St. Lucia Hotel and Tourism Association, the semi-finals of the SLHTA football competition was played on Friday at the Sufre Mini Stadium, and we saw St. James Club Morgan Bay on the body holiday. They played to a 1-1 draw. In the ensuing penalty shootout, the players from St. James Morgan Bay kept their nerves and they were able to advance. Coconut Bay maintained the unbeaten run despite being 2-0 down within the first 10 minutes of the game, rallied to defeat Royalton 3-2 in an exciting and entertaining matchup. And so we see the finals and third place this coming weekend. The third place will be played on the 11th of November. Royalton will take on Body Holiday, and then the final we will see Coconut Bay taking on St. James Morgan Bay. So should be exciting. Now, school sports is in full effect. We see all the sporting disciplines pretty much ongoing, and there are a couple that are coming on stream in the next couple of weeks. So a lot to look out for. We have some results in the under-19 Miku. Miku has been doing very well in school sports this year. In football, under-19 football, they've been dominating, and they've been dominating under-19 netball as well. Sufre, two-time defending champions, they were able to defeat them last week, and then this week playing against the noisy neighbor, Clendon Mason Memorial, they were able to defeat them 45-10. And some of the familiar names we see coming out there, Markeisha Theodule, she scored 25 over 55 attempts. Makiana Nelson, Mikesh Rudolph doing their thing. For Clendon Mason, Michaelina Hunter scored 5 from her 14 attempts. Sufre Combri, they defeated Angers 24-3. And we see that name coming up every single time. Tansy Pascal, she scored 16 of her 32 attempts, which is 50%. She should be able to do. She's been doing better than that. And for Angers, Dahlia Shalmine scored only 3 from her 7 attempts. So like I said, in terms of school sports, we'll be having the inter-school table tennis. The semi-final is on Wednesday, the 9th November 2017. I do not see the venue there, but I think it is at the Grosley Secondary School. That's the auditorium on Wednesday, the 9th. The inter-district primary school football tournament, it will commence on Monday, 13th November, and that will be island-wide. Inter-district primary school road race is scheduled for the 29th of November 2017. That's the northern route. And the inter-school road race, I'm seeing, well, as the district primary school, the first one is on the 29th. And the inter-school, I guess the secondary school road race would be on December 1st. A northern route has been selected for this year. All right, so in cycling, we see St. Lucia. They were represented at the Junior Caribbean Cycling Championship, and that was held in Barbados over the weekend. We'll have a full report on that for you guys in tomorrow night's sportscast, so you could definitely look out for that. Kwame Robinson placed 7th in the 10-kilometer individual time trial in the juvenile division in 17 minutes, 19.32 seconds. The winner was Enrique de Comarand of de Comando. St. Lucia, of Trinidad and Tobago. He won in a time of 14 minutes, 8.35 seconds. Clive Michelle, we've been hearing a lot about this guy's exploits. He placed 7th in the 20 kilometers as well. So we've given you a full report on that in tomorrow night's Sportscast. You can also look forward to Mayor's Cup 2017. The information is coming in slowly and surely with regards to a press launch for the Castries Constituency Council having this Mayor's Cup of football competition, and the Castries Belt, the CCC, will be involved in organizing this competition. Again, we will be featuring that tomorrow night. As more information comes in, we'll be sharing it with you guys. All right, so a number of other sporting developments we saw on the weekend. The curtains came down on this year's Sham Fest netball tournament. The staging of the finals of both the junior and the senior competition. In the finals for the junior division, St. Joseph's Convent Egrets, they defeated Entry Post Secondary 16-8. For Convent, Leon Moise netted 10 from 19. Phoebe Andrew 4 from 5 attempts. For Entry Post, Natalie Florentville netted 2 from 4. In the senior division, Shamrock Sports Club, they defeated Sir Arthur Lewis Community College 28-8. In the third place playoff, Brittany McDonald scored 19 from 40 attempts. That's under 50%. The final whistle, Avengers narrowly defeated St. Joseph's Convent Egrets 31-28. That's in the finals. For the seniors, for Avengers, Kamala Mangal netted 29 from 45 attempts. For the Egrets, Melanie Antoine netted 15 from 23 attempts. So at the conclusion of Shamfest, in terms of the awards given, the MVP, Dasha Eugene from Coram Secondary was the MVP. Dasha, a young individual from the Masha area, national youth player. Rochelle Lubin from Bocage Secondary was given the MVP. Shalana St. Croix from Entry Post Secondary was MVP. Shanika Dupree from Grizzly Secondary. Shavona Mafre, Gracie Alcid, Jacques Rosalie from St. Joseph Convent Egrets. She was given the MVP for St. Joseph Convent. Irene George from Castries Comprehensive. Tiffany Allen, Sir Arthur Lewis. Burnett Joseph from SGC. Shirnis John from Northern Arrows Netball. Tessa Reno from Toughest Netball Club. And Elisa DeQuence from Avengers. So we see in here, Beyonce Weeks, also Shamrock Sports Club, was given the award for her club. Dasha Eugene, as I said earlier, from the Marsha area, she again won the shooting competition. No surprise there at all. All right, and we're seeing some of the transition from former national players. You see the likes of Gracie Alcid. Her mother also played on the national level in her younger days, and you see that passing on from the generation to the next. I talk about the generation, moving things from one generation to the next. We saw the official launch of Veterans 2017-2018. The competition starts this weekend and it goes all the way to February. And so we see an extensive football competition. 56 games will be played throughout the competition. So a lot of veterans football. And as we discussed last week here, the Christmas break almost serves as the required break for recuperation for the veterans, but a really, really extensive competition, a competition that started with 8 teams, now moving to 22. And so we've seen a lot going on in veterans. Now, we had a full report for you during our news. What we're going to do now, we're going to take a look at a montage of the event as it occurred at the Sanders Latok Regency. Really, really nice and classy event. So let's take a look at that montage.
No backing down, no time to fool around. Look the goal, look the goal. Let's go. The veterans coming. We in it to win it. The veterans coming. We in it to win it. They coming from all over. The tournament take over. We in it to win it. Veteran football take over. All foreign players come over. We in it to win it. We ready to play. Blow the whistle and we start the game. I say no backing down, no time to fool around. Look the goal, look the goal. We score. The veterans coming. We in it to win it. The veterans coming. We in it to win. Once again, we ready to play. Blow the whistle and we start the game. I say no backing down, no time to fool around. Look the goal, look the goal. We score. The veterans coming. We in it to win it. The veterans coming. We in it to win it. They coming from all over. The tournament take over. We in it to win it. Veteran football take over. All foreign players come over. We in it to win it. We ready to play. Blow the whistle and we start the game. I say no backing down, no time to fool around. Look the goal, look the goal. We score. The veterans coming. We in it to win it. The veterans coming. We in it to win it. We. Once again, we ready to play. Blow the whistle and we start the game. I say no backing down, no time to fool around. Look the goal, look the goal. We score. The veterans coming. We in it to win it. The veterans coming. We in it to win it. They coming from all over. The tournament take over. We in it to win it. Veteran football take over. All foreign players come over. We in it to win it. We ready to play. Blow the whistle and we start the game. I say no backing down, no time to fool around. Look the goal, look the goal. We score. The veterans coming. We in it to win it. The veterans coming. We in it to win it. We. Once again, we ready to play. Blow the whistle and we start the game. I say no backing down, no time to fool around. Look the goal.
But of course, 6 years ago, when he started with his 8 teams, I am not certain he realized that come now, it would have moved from 8 to 22. If that is not an impact, ladies and gentlemen, I dare say you are not in love with veterans in football.
If that is not an impact, I dare say you're not in love with veterans in football. And I've always said football, sports, is supposed to be inclusive. From young to to say and say, oh, leave that alone, your time passed already. I always gravitate towards people who say, definitely help out with the development of the sport and of the next generation. And as the permanent secretary indicated to the audience, if you looked at our newscast, we need to set the example. Well, as the veterans, to set the example for the young individuals in terms of how they conduct themselves. But I don't think anybody should tell anybody that they should not be involved in sport at any level. And so, very well done, Mr. Alvin Malakan, Mr. Lyndon Cooper, Mr. Belas, and all the sponsors who came on board and had a very good event. And we see this weekend some very good games will be played at the Philip Masley grounds, and definitely looking forward to veterans football this year. Obviously, we said it's November, December, take a Christmas break, come back in January. We fall into the plate competition, the Caribbean Alliance Gold Cup, and we get into the actual knockout stage until we get to the final. All right. So definitely lots of activities, as we said, from the weekend. But what we're going to do now, we're going to take a break, and we'll when we come back, I'm going to introduce you guys to our guests. No stranger, none of them. Two guys, no strangers to sport in St. Lucia. We'll be discussing cricket, and we'll be having a very, very open discussion about sports, cricket development in St. Lucia. And obviously later on, we'll be taking your calls. WhatsApp messages will be welcoming from now. You could send in your messages at 488-0929. I know for sure View Fort is tuned in. Easy, Bosco, and all the guys down south who were there on the weekend and were curious about what actually happened at the Veterans launch. So you got an opportunity to see it. You could send your WhatsApp messages to 488-0929. Later on, we'll be opening the lines. Of course, you could tell your friends and family overseas that they could log on to www.stluciasportsonline.com and they can actually get the live stream as we speak. So we'll take a break. When we come back, we have more for you guys. All right. Okay, welcome back to 758 Sports Talk. And like I said, you could send in your WhatsApp messages at 488-0929. And as you've seen on set now, I have two individuals who've been involved in cricket for a long time. I remember Mr. Brian Calix coached me under 15 and under 19 cricket. And Mr. Julian Charles was a little...
He coached me as well.
He coached you? Wow. I was wondering how that happened. Yeah. So we have with us Mr. Brian Calix, who is the operations manager for the St. Lucia National Cricket Association, and Mr. Julian Charles, who is the president of the St. Lucia National Cricket Association. Welcome, guys. Calix will function more of a co-host tonight, and St. Lucia, I will be I'll be out for the next 2 Mondays. I have some duties, some sports duties to perform before Sweet St. Lucia. And so Mr. Calix would be taking over and ensuring that stuff continues to flow nicely here at DBS. All right. So once again, guys, welcome to the set of 758 Sports Talk. All right. So I'm going to pretty much give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourselves. And I'm going to do this because in terms of the role of individuals, even when we hear president, we assume most times that people understand the role of a president, especially with regards to a sporting organization. And we assume people understand the role of an operations manager when it comes to a sporting organization. So in terms of clarity and setting the tone for persons understanding what your roles are, Mr. Calix, let's start with you. Operations Manager, St. Lucia National Cricket Association.
Well, good evening to the viewers. Well, Kenton, thanks for having me. As you say, I'm a stranger to the television. But basically, as operations manager, I mean, you are really the person on the ground, dealing with competitions, the running of competitions, overseeing programs, whether it be workshops or developmental programs, coaching clinics, and so on, both locally and regionally. So, in a nutshell, that's where the operations come in. So, again, you go from competitions right through to the programs of the association, coaching, development program.
All right, Mr. President.
Well, as president of any organization, you've got the overall responsibility to ensure that the organization function efficiently. You have to ensure that policy is adhered to. You have to ensure that constitutional issues are dealt with, or issues are dealt with within the constitution. You have to keep your affiliates happy. You also, from a cricketing point of view, you have to liaise with regional organizations like the Windward Islands Cricket Board, and then obviously with the West Indies Cricket Board as well. But you have to make your presence felt on the ground very much, as Brian said. You have to be there with your affiliates, with your clubs, with your players, very importantly as well.
Okay, so let's delve into the structure, because we want to ensure that that St. Lucia understands that with everything there is a particular structure that flows from bottom up, from top bottom, that would allow for certain things to continue in an organization. In terms of the structure, because you've mentioned, Mr. Charles, affiliates, how exactly are persons, how do they become part of the St. Lucia National Cricket Association? How do people get involved in the executive of the St. Lucia National Cricket Association to ensure that cricket flows?
Well, we have 16 affiliates. Affiliates are the districts all around the island. Beaufort North, Beaufort South, Labriche, Roselle, Soufrière, Castries, North Castries, South, Micoud, Henry, Babono, Grosile, Ancillary, Canaries. I hope I mentioned all. Mabuya Valley, Soufrière. So these are all your affiliates. So each of your affiliates has a responsibility to run a competition, to run competitions within the district. And from that, they pick their various teams. They're on the 15s, they more or less on the 19s, because we don't run on the 15 competition. They're on the 19s, the ladies teams, the men's first and second division. Okay. So all of them, have that responsibility to run the cricket within, and then now they compete against each other. And from I suppose in terms of how it impacts on the National Association, these affiliates come together to form the National Cricket Association, and each of them would have 2 votes. Okay. They form the board of management of the National Cricket Association, and each of them will have 2 votes whenever you have an AGM or whenever you have special meetings.
And how often do those 32 individuals, so to speak, have decision-making power at an AGM, at those special meetings that you speak of?
Well, we really want to meet at least every quarter, but in reality that does not happen. Sometimes it happens 3 times a year. Most times about 3 times a year. Sometimes it happens 4 times. And that's basically where the decisions of the National Cricket Associations are made.
Okay. So in terms of the operations, how do we move from that particular structure, the 42 individuals vote, you have is there an election process that actually selects an operation manager, or is that left to, according to the constitution, the president or some individual? How did you get into this position? Is pretty much what I'm asking.
Well, in effect, I mean, it was not there before. So under the new president, the recommendation was made to the board, and they accepted, because what they've realized that cricket is now is no longer a 6 months affair. It's year round. You have a number of teams and age group levels to deal with. And in the past, where you had basically just your executive volunteers, just looking into those things. I mean, people who are actually full-time employees, now they've recognized, no, you need somebody, full-time at the office. Well, let's say 2 persons full-time, because there's also an office secretary as well, to get the day-to-day business of the association run.
Okay. Mr. President, I think every St. Lucian wants to know, what is the state of cricket in St. Lucia, from your perspective?
Well, from my perspective, I always say there's room for improvement. And we run cricket to make, I always believe one of the main reasons why we run cricket is to develop international players. Now, I've had some problems with some people who say that's not the main reason. Everybody have to socialize and that kind of thing. Yes, that's important, but as an ex-regional player myself and somebody who played professionally, I always have an eye on people who would go on to make the West Indies side. And this is the main reason why we run cricket. We were fortunate a few years ago that we had Darren Summy, Gary Matre, and Johnson Charles. All I must add, who came through our club, the New Park Cricket Club. So we did have an impact along the way. But in recent times, there's a bit of a gap now, and now we're seeing the Kimani Meliuses and Lee Solomon and John L. Eugene and Syria, Gavin Syria. So there is that talent is still there. As far as so in terms of the state of St. Lucia cricket, there can be an improvement. What I would like to see is a strengthening of our domestic competition. It is very, very important. But we've reached a stage where we can only get players up to a certain level with the facilities that we've had. And from as long as I know myself, I've been calling for proper facilities. And it just falls on deaf ears, and everybody just talk about, cricket is not going anywhere. But cricket is not going to go anywhere. The kind of places you want it to go. If the youngsters do not have somewhere to harness their talent, somewhere proper facilities all around the island, there's hardly a decent place that players could go and practice properly. Even at the Darren Semi-Cricket Ground, you know of the difficulties that we have there in getting players to practice there on a regular basis, or even having nets up on a regular basis. If you do not have proper nets, you're not going to produce players, because coaches need nets. I mean, I don't know which other way I can say it. Coaches need nets, and the cricketers who are more interested will spend hours in the nets, and that is how they will go on to make the West Indies team and become good international players.
All right. So in terms of Mr. Calix, we spoke to your role in terms of operations and cricket competitions. Are you satisfied with how things are progressing along in terms of competition? Some of the stuff you mentioned in terms of programs, coaching, youth programs in St. Lucia.
No, I think, as the President said, there's always room for improvement. What we find is a lot of the affiliates, they depend solely on the Cricket Association to get everything done. Actually, I mean, what you see happening is that you have to actually go into the districts to really get things going. But as a body, you want to see let's say, for example, a district. They have the various age group levels. You want to see the practice more structured, right? Now you're not going to get that, because there are not many persons in this day and age willing to volunteer or with the sort of passion to get that done. I mean, everybody's asking for payment, so everybody just looks to the Cricket Association. Now, with the limited financial resources, there's no way that we can do that. I mean, there was the grassroots program, but right now it's only active in maybe about two districts. We also have the Scotiabank Kiddie Cricket program going on in the schools. You know,
No,
but
that's a big program.
now it's more or less introducing the game of cricket to the kids from 8 to 10, 11 years old.
Okay.
Right? But again, the burden is on the Cricket Association to actually come in to actually get the work done.
Yeah.
So you're not finding the districts taking ownership of the age group levels, and you know getting that sort of local or domestic or grassroots sort of program up and running.
All right. So, Mr. President, you spoke a little bit earlier on your role, not just being domestic. So we're going to move a little bit away from that to having regional responsibility, sub-regional responsibility, first of all, in terms of the Windward Islands, and obviously responsibilities in terms of West Indies. There's a general thought, as a sports individual who goes around at the cricket games, and there's a general thought that in terms of the St. Lucia National Cricket Association and in terms of Julian Charles, that when it gets outside of the shores of St. Lucia, in terms of support for who we believe are ours, that needs the additional support, let's say like a Darren Zami, who is in some form of conflict with a regional board, I believe regional body like Cricket West Indies, the perception is that Julian Charles tends to gravitate towards, and I say perception because I cannot say that this is what happens, he gravitates more towards his responsibilities on that level than in support of our local land. What do you say to that sort of thought?
Well, as we know, what dominates now is fake news, right? So that a lot of people believe that if you say something a million times, then it becomes the truth. You know, and that's what happened. What can I say? I mean, I have supported Darren Summy the best I can right through. As I just said, he came through our club. I have given 100% support to Darren Summy right through, and there's no doubt about it. I mean, before people started believing in Darren Summy, we believed in him. You know, when I was saying that Darren Summy, even from 15 or 16, was the real thing, and Brian had seen him, and the same people who are making all the noise now were telling me straight in my face that he could never make the West Indies side. You know, and some of them had never even seen him play. So, and they said he couldn't make it. And so for somebody to turn around now and say, I do not support Darren Summy, I mean, I don't even think that is worth answering. But because there's so much fake news out there, yeah, I will tell you, because they do not know the history between Summy and myself.
All right. So, Mr. Calix, in terms of operations, you know, we're going to answer all questions tonight. I have a billion of them. They're not even written. So, we looked at the weekend. We saw the competition right at our shores. The Windward Island Volcanoes coming up against the Guyana Jaguars at the Darren Sammy Cricket Grounds. And I guess I can throw that to you as well as president. And really and truly, we saw very late the St. Lucia National Cricket Association coming to the fore in terms of I would say a PR effort. Pretty much the last week we saw anything tangible, and I need to say tangible, I choose my words carefully. We saw anything tangible from the St. Lucia National Cricket Association, and we saw pretty much an empty field again. The argument has been we've been seeing those fields whether or not there is any PR, but the responsibility is on the association to get things out there. Who dropped the ball?
Well, I think for this game, I mean, the Cricket Association will have to take some blame for it. We did not do as much PR as we should have. But having said that, we know that over the years that the support for regional cricket, I mean, has been dwindling, not only in St. Lucia, throughout the region, and even internationally too. I mean, the longer version of the game you hardly have the sort of crowd support that is required. But as I said, I mean, the Cricket Association will have to take some blame for the lateness in terms of the promotion of the game.
Yeah, if I may add, yes, the game was promoted a bit late, which traditionally we have done that at times, and and with this, well, basically what to say, it doesn't matter what we do, the ground is always empty for first class cricket. This one of the individuals who is calling nearly all shows on St. Lucia now, talking about we didn't promote the game. When we have given him to promote the game and when paid him for it, the ground was just the same or even worse. A couple years ago, the Guyana team was coming here. We engaged the individual and we paid him, and we were promised that there would be athletes running around the field at lunchtime and during tea time. That never happened. Nobody ever came to the ground. We were promised that Calypsonians had agreed to come and sing. That never happened. And the ground was completely empty, despite, I must say, the individual did make a lot of effort. He was on the air, he went on shows, he spoke to tourist board, he did all kinds of things, and the ground was still empty. Now, we came in late, granted, we came in late about 4 or 5 days before, but we hit the radio stations. We had our vice president promoting the game. We had it on our Facebook page. We had it on all sports programs within 4 or 5 days, and yet the ground was practically completely empty. This is what happens in first-class cricket all over the world. It doesn't mean that people are not following. We have at least 1.5 million people looking at the games. The games are being streamed by the West Indies Cricket Board, and it's followed by 1.5 million people daily. But they just do not go to the grounds, not only in St. Lucia. This is a phenomenon of first-class cricket all around the world, and it's even starting to happen in Test cricket in the Caribbean. You go to Barbados to look at a Test match between England and the West Indies, and you could point out the number of black faces in the crowd. So out of about 10 to 13,000 people, if you have 500 black faces. So it is something we have to look at as a nation, as a Caribbean people, and look to see if there is a cultural shift that we try to bring it back instead of blaming one or two individuals.
But isn't there, let's just say in recent times, I guess I would say recent times because I'm still fairly young, there was an effort made in terms of getting the younger individuals out there. You would see a plethora of individuals, the young, some of them walking around the place, but you could see those who are interested really staying and paying attention, having, be able to see some of the regional stars actually perform, and those who may have played some international cricket come back to a small island like St. Lucia and getting that opportunity. Do you think that efforts could have been made in terms of the schools getting into that venue?
Yeah, but even that too, Kenton, when we speak about the schools and the invitation to the schools and so on, even that too, even in the past when we have invited the schools to be part of, I mean, we hardly have any schools taken up the offer. I mean, even this too, for example, we have the Scotiabank cricket going on. And the schools have said to you, some of the schools have said to you outright, they are focusing on football. So, I mean, don't come to speak to them about cricket. And while we're on the schools, it does not take an invitation from the Cricket Association for a school to come to the ground to watch a day's play. I mean, it all boils down to, I mean, how interested the physical education teachers are, or the principal of that school. It all boils down to that. So whether we send the invitation through the ministry or directly through the schools, again, it's the schools who take up the initiative to be at a game. So
it brings me to this question: what can we do? What can you guys do, and what can we do to do something about the interest of or the lack thereof of cricket in our country?
Well,
what is the question I'm asking is, what is the St. Lucia National Cricket Association doing about this trend of apathy towards cricket?
In terms of, I would not say that people are not interested in cricket. On the contrary, you will see what happened when we have a T20 match. Even the local T20 that just finished,
Yes,
there were
yeah.
hundreds of people there. So it's not that, and of course, you know what happens at the Iron Semi Ground whenever there is a T20 match. So people are interested in cricket. They're just not interested in that kind of cricket.
Test cricket.
The longer
The
version.
longer version, not necessarily Test cricket, but the 4-day first class cricket. And
Even the
as I
50
said,
over is becoming.
That's right.
Yeah, but even at the local level, I mean, our 2-day cricket, I mean, each district would have, let's say, a minimum of, let's say, 6 clubs, right? That's about, let's say, 90 players, right? If their district team is playing, some of those same players don't even come out to support the district team. So that's where it starts. You know? So
And
if you don't have the support at the local level, I mean,
even in Barbados, you would find that first division teams sometimes are short with people. I heard of a few years ago a player made his debut in Barbados on first division cricket at the age of almost 50.
Wow.
Now imagine that's
That's veterans.
That's happening in Barbados. So you know you're quite right. We still have to look to see what we can do. It starts with the cricketers, because you hear sometimes people complain, well, people don't go to cricket, but the cricketers themselves. You play a competition among 60 men. Say you have, say, 10 teams, 10 12, 120, 120 players. When it comes to the finals, you only see the 2 teams.
Yeah.
You only see the 2 teams. You don't see the rest of the players.
let me just also add, Kenton, maybe 10, 15 years ago, each of the cricketing districts would have their own 2-day competition and so on. That is non-existent now.
That is very true. That is very true. But let's talk a little bit about some of the successes recently of the let's just say of the association on a whole in terms of our under 15s and the under 15 cricket team on a Windward Islands level, and we've seen the development of Kimani, as you said, and John L. Eugene and that sort of thing. Where are we? What do you attribute the youngsters seeming to perform well on on that level and breaking into the West Indies under 19 squad?
Yeah. Before we go there, I just wanted to make one more point that kind of slipped under the radar the last few days when we were getting about the pressure about promoting the game. The disaster in Dominica did also affect certainly affected my focus in terms of our local cricket, because for about 2 to 3 weeks, all the focus was how do we handle the disaster as far as the franchise, the
Windward Islands franchise.
The Windward Islands franchise is based in Dominica. So players had to be brought back home, rescued, and we must thank Johnson Charles who went down to get a few of the players and came back. And all during that time, we had to be getting players out of Dominica. There was supposed to be a preparation camp for the team for this year's first class season. So that was no more. We had to be sending whatever assistance and that we can. We had to rearrange the camp in Grenada, and that took a lot out of a lot of the presidents of the Windward Islands. So it was almost like a full-time job for 2 weeks trying to relocate the franchise and running the camps.
But since you decided to go there, I have to kind of interject, because in terms of organizations, I've dealt with organizations, a number of organizations through my lifetime. And what you find is there are structures in place within the organization to allow certain individuals to deal with contingencies. For instance, we talk about the PR. There was this disaster granted in Dominica, the attention of, let's say, the president and perhaps even the operations manager and perhaps even a treasurer in the organization towards what is going on in this sub-region. But an effective organization should have a structure in place where a PR plan or a PR committee or fundraising subcommittee could come together and still get things going locally.
No, we're not saying no, but I think where you're missing the ball is that this is not a one-day international, or this wasn't a test match. This is a regional game where people all over the world do not go. So, and we've had instances, as I said.
No, I was drawing reference to the actual promotion. I'm not drawing reference to the. Okay, so you're drawing reference to the result.
Yeah.
I'm drawing reference to the process that I believe an organization still has to undergo. And for me, the belief is, if at the end of the day the organization is not willing to undergo that particular process, you subcontract it or you get another individual to get it done. The gravitation towards the result over the years is something that I'm just generally not comfortable with, because I still believe you need to have that process to get it done.
Yes, but Kenton, I think in there we could also say that, I mean, yes, the Cricket Association has the responsibility to promote the game, right? But the media also has its part to play, right? Now, the media would have also known that this game is coming up, all right? As a being patriotic to being patriotic, I mean, the media can play the part in terms of bringing information out. I mean, they might not be able to give all the nitty gritties in terms of maybe prices for tickets and so on, but they also have a responsibility to contact certain persons in the organization,
Interview
if they
players.
need the sort of information. So I don't think it should just be a one-way street saying, okay, well, the Cricket Association did not promote the game or whatever, but there are a number of partners in there.
So as a representative of the media on the on our little panel here, I'd have to interject and say the media has a responsibility to get things out, but the media has a responsibility to get facts, and the facts normally emanate from the association. Now, at the end of the day, the media normally goes through a public relations officer of an association. Over the last, I can say, year, in terms of a public relations officer from the St. Lucia National Cricket Association, it's been non-existent. So if the public relations manager, which brings me back to my original point, that a president has a number of duties, that's granted, operations manager, we need to have the contingency and subcommittees organized to allow for certain things to continue to flow, regardless of what's happening in the sub-region.
Well, you're right, and I think we can look at it from a broader perspective, in that you do not have many people volunteering in St. Lucia.
That is very true.
The two people that people want to bash, look around and see how many ex-cricketers are involved in the development of cricket in St. Lucia. And the two people, or 3 or 4 people who really come out and assist, they're the ones people, instead of helping along the way. But I'm not going to let that blindfold sidetrack me, because I know there are a lot of people out there who give me a lot of moral support and tell me, despite what's going on, still try to contribute. But those who are coming forward are the ones that people criticize.
But let me just...
Okay, we'll have to continue. We'll have to continue after the short break. We have to open the lines, because I'm telling you, St. Lucians are itching to get involved, and this is a very interactive program. I've not even looked at my phone, and I guarantee you, St. Lucia, it has been vibrating near my hand. So I will be reading your messages, and of course, we will definitely open the phone lines when we get back, and we're going to continue our conversation. Very good conversation, very frank and open conversation. And so we'll be right back to take your calls. Don't touch that dial. right, so welcome back to 758 Sports Talk, and we're discussing cricket tonight. And I have individuals from the St. Lucia National Cricket Association here tonight. And so I'm going to read some of your messages. The phone line is open. The number to call is 451-9788. That's 451-9788. And somebody says, are these guys here to promote the Thursday match that just ended inside of 3 days? LOL. I had a feeling we'd get some of those responses. Somebody says, I'm home now watching Big Up Viewfort Central. I guess that's with regards to veterans of football. We did some of them. We did a montage earlier. A shout out to Easy and the guys at Viewfort South and Viewfort Central. All right, we have our first caller. Good evening. You're live on 758 Sports Talk. Go ahead with your contribution. Good evening. Could you turn down the volume on your television set and go ahead with your contribution, caller?
To do what you were elected to do and come with the excuse that had you done it, the result would have been the same. Just do it.
I missed the first part of your contribution, caller.
I said you cannot fail to do what you were elected to do and come with the excuse that had you done it, the result would have been the same. There is no excuse.
Cole, I don't think that is what is being initiated here. We agree that we were a little tardy in terms of the promotion, but we are just pointing out also that there has been a decline in terms of persons coming to watch the game at that level.
Yeah, the caller is the president of the St. Lucia National Cricket, the National Umpires Association. You should ask him what did he do to get umpires to come to the games.
Okay, somebody says, Kenson, I want to say one thing. It is high time our government stop praising our sports when they come back to St. Lucia and create opportunities to help them go abroad. All right, contribution towards government ensuring that we move to the next level. All right. Yes. So some of the messages covered in that I don't think would be read on television. Let's keep everything respectful, St. Lucia, and let's have a decent conversation. We can disagree in a very respectful manner. All right. So the number to call is 451-9788. You can send your messages to 488-0929, and we're discussing cricket. And we spoke a little bit about the PR, and people generally draw reference and compare football and cricket, because in terms of the history of St. Lucia, you would find that the success of our nation has been based in terms of sports on those two, and you find that football football have taken over St. Lucia in terms of the number of competitions, Mr. Operations Manager, the number of individuals being involved, just generally, Mr. President, and football seems to have been doing so much more by way of PR. And if you ask me right now who's the public relations officer for the St. Lucia Football Association, I would tell you I do not know. And yet still all the information seems to be penetrating. Why is that?
Oh, I cannot speak for the football association.
So why is it that why is it that football seems to have been...
Yeah, but I will say to you that this is not only St. Lucia. Football is a game that's all over the world. If you go to England, when I played league cricket in England, you almost during the football season you think that cricket doesn't exist. Yeah. Football is just huge. It's the number one sport in the world.
It's a lot cheaper to
attract
and
youngsters.
Football can be played anywhere. Yeah. Unlike cricket, and that is one of the disadvantages of cricket.
All right, we have another caller. Good evening. You're live on 758 Sports Talk. Go ahead with your contribution.
Good night.
Good evening.
Good night.
Go ahead with your contribution, caller.
Yeah, I just want to let you know that Brother Khalid and Brother the other guys did a very good job. That is name again
Mr. Julian Giles.
Yeah, he's doing a good job, especially Brother Khalid. I want him to continue doing the work that he's doing. Mm-hmm. But what he needs devoted person around him to assist him. You have some guys around him that I feel they're lacking when it comes to interest and devotion. So they need a staff of new breed guys around him to continue the good work that he's doing. But he has done such a good work for St. Lucia. I hope he keeps it up. And I want to know what date will be election for you all. Thank you.
Yes. So
Yeah, thank you, Caller, for that contribution. In terms of the biennial for the Cricket Association, the election is due in this month actually, but there are things that need to be put in place before the election comes about, and it's critical that those things be put in place.
okay. Good evening. 1 second. You're live on 75 with Sports. Go ahead with your contribution.
Yes, I want to talk about boxing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to talk to Mr. Sheikh Christopher. I don't know if he's listening right now, because what is he doing that I don't like, and also the other old boxers, veteran boxers, don't like. What is he doing at this point in time? Because the name of the gym that he's giving, what the guy name was, Mr. McLean or whatever his name is, the guy who died.
Brian
McDonald?
The Brian McDonald boxing gym, and that is wrong, because this guy had never really represented this country. He was only a sportscaster. And Mr. Sheikh Christopher, I want to tell him, you have to be careful, because a lot of the boxers of this country have done so much, and we have struggled, and you are owing us. You're owing us, and definitely, you need to stop that practice that he's doing at this point in time.
Okay, let me engage you for a little bit, because I'm not sure in terms of what your interaction is with Mr. Christopher, and you're going into Owen, and I cannot verify that. I do not want to go there. But in terms of the naming of the gym, are you saying that the only individual the gym can be named after is a former national boxer? Is that what you're alluding to? We cannot have somebody who's contributed to the sport by way of administration? Because as far as I know, he was a member of the Boxing Association for a number of years.
What he already contributed? What Mr. McDonald already contributed?
I just said he was a
sportscaster.
He was also a member of the association. That's why I'm asking you if you believe, at the end of the day, your point is justified if you believe as a former boxer that it is owed to a former boxer who's represented St. Lucia with a lot of stature. It would be fair to say that, but I'm not sure that it's fair to say that an administrator is not deserving of a name. That's what I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing that perhaps we could have found a boxer
my money is on my telephone at this point in time. But there's guidelines. There is Rosemont Perry, Rosemont Ramonstein, there's all other boxers. We have struggled, He cannot do that. This guy was only a sportscaster.
Again, while I agree with you, I will not say only a sportscaster, because at the end of the day, you were saying...
He has never represented this country. This man has never represented this country. That's crap.
Not as a boxer.
Okay, have a nice day, man.
Yeah, thank you for your contribution. And the contribution, the point is taken in terms of the desire of having somebody who has actually boxed. And I understand that. You train, and boxing is not an easy sport to train for. Miles holding up your hand, the gym, the physical, what it takes from you, and I definitely agree with that. But to say that Brian McDonald did not contribute to boxing is an absolute stretch. Good evening, you're live on 75 at Sports Talk.
Yeah, good night, Jensen. That man, I have no point. That man, I have no point. All right, none whatsoever.
No, I wouldn't say he doesn't have a point. I would say he could have said. That's what I was saying. He could have said that he preferred that.
You pointed out to the gentleman Brian McDonald's accolades. He was not just a sportscaster. He was a legendary sportscaster. In addition to that, he served on the executive of the Boxing Federation for several years.
Exactly. Traveled the world with those guys.
So he did represent St. Lucia in the form of administration, in the form of management. Right? Definitely. And he also did report on boxing when he traveled with the team. So, there is every reason why you should name the boxing gym after Brian McDonald. Yes, they have some great boxers around the place. I'm not saying that there aren't some legendary boxers.
So you're saying the same point. You're making the same point that I made.
No, he'd have no point. He'd have no point. Right? Well done, well placed, right, to give it to Brian McDonald. Because sometimes the thing is, unfortunately, we overlook administration quite a bit,
Exactly.
So he's saying, he wasn't a boxer. He was just, just there.
And that's a problem.
He was a great administrator. He was a great administrator in the sport of boxing, and he was also a legendary sportscaster.
Let me tell you.
So it's well deserving.
When Brian sent a press release about boxing, it had everything in it. But as a sportscaster, all you did was you just put it in and you just read it. Because he would give you their names, their weight. You would see this guy was a student of what boxing development embodied in St. Lucia. So that is why I took offense to him saying, hey, no way. That's why I'd always gravitate towards, hey, let's have a discussion and perhaps a portion or something being done for the actual boxers, but to just dismiss it altogether.
The next boxing gym that is open, we can look at naming it after a boxer, but there's nothing wrong with the direction that we have gone there. I mean, kudos to Shakes and them for jumping on that right away.
Because nobody was doing it, eh? Nobody. The gym was just there, dilapidated for years. But anyway, do you have a contribution towards our cricket discussion tonight?
Nah. I'll be listening off it.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. But yes, earlier we were discussing the under-15s and some of our success stories, Kibani, Melius, now on to the West Indies under-19, at least the training camp. This must have been something that, after all the pressure, you guys could sit down and say, okay.
Well, yes, and not only us. I think the whole of St. Lucia could say, okay, that we're moving in the right direction. And I think a lot of the effort, as you would know, would go to Kimani himself, because most times when somebody make it, is a lot of the effort, sacrifices, it starts from themselves, and of course somebody who could really push them and show them that vision. His coach, Alton Grafton. Yeah. Of course, it all started from the cricket associations, West Indies Board grassroots. Grassroots
as
program,
a northern cluster,
cluster, which gave them a platform on which they could develop their talent. But he's a youngster who's worked tremendously hard, and I think I can clearly say that I believe that Kimani will be the best batsman that we have ever produced in Solution.
Definitely, the talent is there, ability to hit the ball, and the good hand-eye coordination, especially from what I saw in the SPL. He didn't get to big scores, but you could see ability to bat and proper stroke play.
And a great attitude.
Yeah, very, very humble individual. At the same token, John L. Eugene, I remember reading a press release from Ron Lewis. It seemed to gravitate towards the under-17, seemed to be gravitating towards John L. Eugene being part of the makeup. And I was surprised that at the end of the day, when the final camp, he was on reserve for a couple of years. Well, I wouldn't say a couple of years, like for a year. And then when the final squad, the training squad, he was not even on the team itself. And so that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, to say the least.
Yes, well, John is a very fine batsman as well.
We'll get to that.
Very fine
all right, we'll get to that in a little bit. Good evening. You're live. Go ahead with your contribution.
Kenson, good night, Kenson. Good night to your guest. Good night to Brian. Good night to Julian.
When you said good night to Brian, I was thinking Brian McDonald,
Kenson, I never ever hear something so stupid in my whole life. This guy who called, I don't know who he be, but if he feels that the gym should have named after some boxers, did any other boxers ever come around and try to help what's going on? Look, yesterday the guys came over from Labrie to help him what's going on. Did any one of these boxers have any idea of trying to develop the boxing or come around to join any course, to be referees, to be coaches?
There are so many things now. There are referees, there are coaches, there are judges, there are so many things in terms of helping with the ring assignments around. I mean, you've had boxing shows all over St. Lucia. There are ample opportunities.
You're not seeing nobody. But now something seems to be happening, They want to be wagging it and coming and say who the gym's supposed to be named after and all kind of things. The amount of work that Brian put in, before that gym reached where it's at, we start off the extension. Brian was involved. Brian died working for boxing. Why people like that? So why he don't come around and identify himself? Oh man, that's crazy, man. So the caller before, the last caller before this call, he said it all, But I said I must call because I always watching sports. The guy know ever watching. I'm a sports guru.
You know that. That's why he called the show, and he called you out specifically. So
yeah. So this guy need to identify himself. If he's a boxer, he wanted Jim to name after him. He should come around. He can inscribe his name.
And what I know about you is that you would welcome anybody who has an input. As a matter of fact, you've been asking for a PR person. You've been asking for persons to serve on the executive, and you've had to, from my experience working with you, you've had to be the jack of all trades.
Yeah, you know that, Kenson, because it comes around a lot of times you yourself come and make some contribution. We call in persons to come and serve. You don't see anybody because we have a course going to be starting here in December, an international certification course to certify referees and judges. You ain't seen anybody coming forward.
And the press release,
none of the old boxers, none of the persons who.
And you always put out a press release on this. Without PR, you always put out a press release inviting persons to come on board. And I can always have your back on that because they come directly to me, Mr. Christopher. So keep your head up. Keep doing what you're doing. I mean, I don't want to turn this discussion into boxing. You know you have to come on Sports Night before Caribbean Development Boxing Championship. You know we have to have an extensive discussion. And if this guy is brave enough and he wants to genuinely make a contribution, every afternoon, guaranteed St. Lucia, every afternoon, I'm saying this to corporate St. Lucia as well, you could make your way to VG and I guarantee you will see training going on, you would see people cleaning up the place, you could see development in boxing. I've been shakes, there's no doubt about that.
But I gotta really borrow Mr. Charles Ward. Fake news is the best news. That guys are fake. So fake news run things right now. You have a good night, man.
I wanted to ask you in terms of because I know your team, your home team, your initial home team was in St. Lucia, and again you were part of the organization in some way, you know, getting persons to and from. How did that work out for you?
Well, first of all, I want to thank the Cricket Association for giving the opportunity to work with those guys. Wonderful set of guys, professional guys. I think everything went well. Persons who didn't turn up for the game lose out on seeing them won the most magnificent game. I think it was well paused. Both teams show punches like boxing. I think they're working together with the organization. Everything was on cue, food on time, transportation on time. The guys had a very good time. It's just so disappointed the person didn't come out and witness, you know, good cricket. So I want to really thank them. Everything went well. The guys went back this morning. Chandra Paul will be joining the team in St. Kitts tomorrow or today. So everything went well. As I'm on the air right now, I just want to use the opportunity to announce that the prize giving ceremony for Black Card will be on Wednesday night, the 8th.
Yeah, I have to find out on the streets about that one, eh?
I'll be giving the information on that so in the morning. But all in all, I want to wish those guys well and all the persons could surround Julian and Brian to make their contribution so they can really propel the sport because, as I said, and he said it tonight, administration is a problem. I'm facing the same problems with administrators, persons not stepping up to serve, persons not taking the responsibility. And, you know, at the end of the day, it would always fall by the president or the person like the operation officer. So persons need to step up. And there's a serious problem we have in St. Lucia. We need to take note administration. There's a crisis going on. Persons not serving unless they're being paid. So it's a big problem we have. We can't produce good athletes if we don't have administrators to really administrate them and bring them through the ranks.
All right. Well said. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, man.
Excuse me. Would you like to summarize what he said? Because we didn't hear a word of what.
Oh, you guys were not.
No, we
my!
didn't hear a word
You guys
of his contribution.
Of his contribution, but you heard the others.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he pretty much said in terms of cricket that he enjoyed the cricket. That he really regretted that St. Lucians didn't actually come out to actually see the game because it was a good game, good cricket was being played, and so on. We have another caller. Good evening. You're live on 758 Sports Talk. Go ahead with your contribution.
Good evening, and best wishes to all.
Yes.
Very often in St. Lucia, after one no longer has the breath of life, that is when one hears of the high quality, the person, and the person's good contribution. Therefore, I wish to take this opportunity, Casimir, to let you know that I am truly impressed with your contribution on behalf of St. Lucia.
Wow,
your standard of English is of high quality. Your manner of presentation is truly remarkably highly impressive. And I am proud of you as a St. Lucian. You are indeed an asset to the land.
Wow.
And please keep up the good work. Again, high praises and God bless you. I love you
so
in
much.
the name of the Lord. You are very special.
Wow, thank you so much. I did, when you started, I didn't know you were going to go there. But as they say, the young people say, you have me feeling myself. Thank you so much for that contribution, caller. All right. So yes, so we were talking about the individuals who have been pretty much making strides in terms of the region. And we spoke about John L. Eugene for a little bit, and I interrupted you while you were making your contribution.
Yes, John L. is a superb player. There's no doubt about it. I just hope that he goes all the way. He appears to be very dedicated indeed. He's got all it takes. He hits the ball pretty well. He times it very well.
Definitely.
And his bowling is a very good aspect of his game as well. So at the moment, we're blessed that we have at least 4 or 5 youngsters of that kind of caliber.
And to look forward to, especially. Yeah.
And time will tell.
All right. So we have another caller. Good evening. You're live. Go ahead with your contribution.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Very good program as usual, Kenson.
Thank you so much.
I just want to find out, and maybe Brian Calix could take us down the road. When an individual is selected for let's say the West Indies under 19 camp, as in the case of Melius, what is the process? What is the procedure? Because I happen to run a program that the ministry, for example, was being roasted, raked over the coals in terms of no contribution. I recognize there's something saying this is a Kimani Melius account and money should be contributed. So just take us through it, because I find it strange that if you have a player who's been selected for national trials, that all of these things happening. So just take us through as to what happens and whether or not Melius is really in need of those funds that has been spoken about. I'll listen to your offer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess that's a question that we need to delve into, because the rumors are there.
Yes. Basically, when a player is called up to, let's say, a West Indies team, whether it's junior or senior, they would let the association know of their needs.
Okay.
Right. If
meaning the player would contact.
Yes. There'll be dialogue between the two, and where the association can assist, they will. But in regards to Melius, as far as we know, Melius has not made any request of the association in terms of there being a need or there being needs, But any player who was going to make any of the teams, Windwards, West Indies, if it comes to the cricket associations, that knowledge that there is some sort of need, the cricket association goes forward to make sure that that need is fulfilled.
Yeah, I would like to say though that I'm very happy that some persons in the society are trying to assist Melius, Kimani, whether it's financially or otherwise. I mean, that's very commendable. But I would like to say though that we should not panic in St. Lucia when a player makes the West Indies side. Yeah. When a player makes the West Indies side, he's well looked after. As far as I know, Kimani has more gear than he could possibly use right now. And it's, as I said, it's commendable that people want to assist him, and that is great news. But I can assure them that the West Indies Cricket Board will take care of all his needs.
All right. Okay, so we need to take a short break. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll do our final segment. I've been getting messages, so we would have to delve into some of that, and we'll continue to take your calls at 4519788. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. 758 Sports Talk, and we're discussing cricket. And as you know, with our sports show, people pretty much call and talk about anything to do with sports development, and we do not discourage it. But this is your final segment for the week. Final 15 minutes for you guys to call and ask some questions and make your contribution. My WhatsApp seemed to be down for the moment, so I definitely had to check on what was going on there. But my service seemed to have been done. So we would have to deal with calls. Good evening. You're live. Go ahead with your contribution, caller.
Right. Hello?
Yes, go ahead with your contribution.
Hello?
Yes.
Kenton?
Yes.
Oh, good night.
Good night.
Good night, Julian.
Good evening.
Night, Brian.
Good evening.
There's something that caught my attention. What is the position with John L. Eugene? Because if I remember correctly, on a previous West Indies under 19 tour, he did not make the 17, but he was in the free. There were free players.
He made the 17.
Hello?
Yes, you're referring to the 17. He made the 17, but not the final traveling squad.
The what?
He didn't make the 13. I think you're referring to the 17, but not getting into the 13.
He was one of the free
or was it 16?
players. There were 6. Subsequent to that, there was another West Indies team which has just been selected, and there were 6 reserve players, and he's not in the team and he's not in the 6. And I've been following this young man's progress. I want Mr. Junior and Charles from Mr. Brian Calix to find out what is happening with John LBG, because he's one of ours. I'll listen to you, Office.
All right, thank you very much for your contribution.
Well, I think the president has pretty much touched on the John L. Eugene. I mean, from my point of view, I mean, it was very unfortunate that in the last leg there that he was not part of the final training squad, but he has been doing pretty well so far. He did well at the under 19 tournament, well enough, but in those things, the selectors are the ones who have the final say.
Yes, I always like to say that I don't get involved in I was about to say I try not to, but I do not get involved in selections of the team. I myself have been a chairman of selectors, both St. Lucia and Woodland Island, so I know what it's like when you pick a side and people, administrators who are supposed to be overseeing the process, come and criticize you. So I do not get involved in it, but I can say though that I was surprised that John L did not get in the squad. But having said that, you know that he did not make he was not picked for the first 14. Mm-hmm. So you knew, for example, that they would have kept that 14 because they had gone to, I believe it was South Africa. Mm-hmm. So they would have been looking for 3 or 4 other players. Kimani made the most runs in the tournament, so he was almost like an automatic selection. John L did have a very good tournament as well. He made some runs and he got some wickets. So I would have thought that he could still get in, but it would have been touch and go if they decided that they were going to go with the same 14, because that seemed to be the trend now, that they try to keep the same team as much as possible.
Okay, so on another note, because as with 758, the code, we would delve more into local cricket and that sort of thing. But in terms of the regional body, I would ask you that question because I'm curious. Are you satisfied with the work of Dave Cameron as president of the West Indies or Cricket West Indies? I mean, there are probably 10,000 solutions who want me to ask you that. So I have to. It's a question that I think we need to get an answer for.
This one is a googly or flipper.
Straight. You just say straight. Mm.
Well, I think they've inherited a West Indies team that was more or less. I wouldn't want to say that it was in free fall. But it certainly was teetering on the edge. We had won a few series against Bangladesh, against Zimbabwe. We were there or thereabout. And then just after that, you had this explosion of T20 cricket all over the world, and you had players making demand, and your best team was not available, and then. Well, the crucial thing was that you had a lot of players asking for more, so to speak. And then you have this fiasco in India. Now, once this happened, this was a defining moment, I think. Had India not happened, you would have to say, well, everything had been it would have been smooth sailing because he had worked on a collective bargaining agreement with Whipper, and everything was nice with Whipper. And he had put down the professional cricket league that was going pretty well. He had negotiated a contract with Nagico, a new contract with Digicel.
I promise I'll let you continue, but this person has been on the line for a little while. Good evening. Go ahead with your contribution.
Good afternoon, sir. Good night, sir. How are you?
Good evening.
Okay, I'm more or less calling in connection with boxing. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion.
Yes.
But what I can tell you that boxing is one of the growing sports in St. Lucia. It takes persons lot out of trouble. It takes, in terms of the liming, the time they take for lime, you will find a lot of boxers who go to the boxing gym. Now, when persons want to call and criticize of what person is doing, okay? Okay.
Go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, okay. Okay, when persons want to call and criticize what persons is doing presently, what we advise them is that the door is always open for them to come and assist, to come and do whatever they wish to do.
All right, thank you. Point taken. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Yes, sorry about that.
Yes, I was saying that he put a number, or he helped put, because a lot of people think that the West Indies Cricket Board is Dave Cameron's, belongs to Dave Cameron. And a lot of governments, I think, have made that mistake, some in the Windward Islands, to think that Dave Cameron would just say this, maybe, I don't know if that's how the cabinets are run, that the person in charge said this and it happens. No, there are about 17 board members, and you've got to get consensus. So nearly all decisions that are made by the pertinent decisions are made by the board, not just by Dave Cameron. But of course, as leader, you would hear that Dave Cameron this and Dave Cameron that. But one of the crucial things, as I said, was India. It was unfortunate because I still feel that the players could have waited for another 2 or 3 days. That's all. They had to wait on another 2 or 3 days, another 2 or 3 games, and come back home and settle this entire issue. But as it was, it put us back by a couple of years.
So another question that I have to, every time we get ticklish when we get to the regional body, in terms of the policy of having to play in a regional competition, where you to play in a particular, like the West Indies team, and then having sort of kind of pedaled back and relaxed it for the last couple of months, where do you stand in terms of selection and how it probably should work for our regional game?
I think at all times we should try to get the best team to represent the West Indies. The issue with that is sometimes if you just pick players when they're available, you may have an issue that you may have a time where all of them are not available, and then you do not have a team. So you also have to build a team, because if for example you're 50 over, you have all your top players on the 50 over team, and then there is the Big Bash in Australia, and nearly all of them go. You're left with virtually nothing. You start back from scratch. But clearly, you should always try to get your best team, which is why there is the amnesty now, where you could pick pretty much anybody, and there's also a committee now in place that will determine what the criteria will be, whether it is 40% of the games, 50% of
going
the games,
forward,
in consultation with the coach. And if it's 40%, where do that 40% play? Does it play at the start of the year, and then you have a test series down the road, and that person haven't played test cricket for 6 months? So there have to be a collaboration, communication with the players, the coaches, and the technical committee.
Darren Bravo has been out of the setup, and we've had that amnesty. Any word as to why he's still out of the squad, or is that something?
Where he's been selected, and he said he's not available.
He's not available. Okay. All right, okay, guys. So we pretty much we have 2 minutes left. So I always like to give my guests the opportunity to say the last words, Mr. Calix.
Well, Kenton, we just want to continue to encourage persons who want to make a contribution or who think they have the ideas to, to pass these ideas on. We have an open door sort of policy. I mean, we don't keep out anybody. And we're still looking to make cricket, make the sort of strides that we want to see it make to get back to the top of the sporting disciplines in St. Lucia. I mean, right now, I know we have a distance to go with football, with all the revenue available to them for their various programs, right? We don't have such a luxury, but I mean, all in all, we're going to work with whatever resources we have to make sure that we keep the programs, the few programs we have, keep it going and try to improve on it, especially with the new structuring of the Central National Lotteries. And just want to let viewers know that the Windward Islands Volcanoes, despite the fact that they lost over the weekend, that they will be in action again in St. Lucia in December 14th to be exact. They'll be playing the Jamaica Scorpions. So we invite you to come along. If you missed the last game, then you still have a chance to come out to see the Volcanoes in action in December.
Definitely. So, St. Lucia, it started here. The PR started here. December 14th, Darren Zammit Cricket Grounds, St. Lucia versus, the Windward Islands, Volcanoes versus Jamaica. By the way, the St. Lucia Football Association is saying the same thing about cricket in terms of money and revenue. They're saying if we had the money and revenue there. But anyway, yes, sir, go ahead.
Yes, I would just like to once more implore the authorities that be to provide the necessary practice facilities for our players, as I've done for several years. You need at least a cage. By that I mean a fenced-up area with about 4 to 5 cricket pitches on all major grounds on the island. In fact, in every district, so that the people who are interested in making cricket a career and not just playing for fun would be able to train as hard as they want to, stay out there on the field as long as they want to, and so that we can make the other step. It is all good and well to produce players at the A-list level, but we need to give them the opportunity to go on further. And it's not just about the facilities. We need to employ cricket coaches. At the moment, I believe we only have one level 3 in the Ministry of Youth and Sports to serve virtually the entire island. We also do have, I think, another couple of coaches, but it's important that we have a cadre of coaches. You have at least 6-7 coaches. That's not asking for too much, and you also need the qualified coaches as well. And it's important that people know that they can make a career out of coaching, and that they encourage in that direction, and not just a contract for a year, but a position where they can get a pension and they can rely on that position.
All right, well said. Thank you very much, guys, for coming here. I know a lot of people probably would have dodged, considering some of the stuff that's been in the air. But it's always nice to get get it from the horse's mouth, so that you get the clarity. Get people to understand the structure. Because you guys may not know this, but a lot of people didn't know that there were affiliates electing individuals into positions. This may be second nature to you guys in administration for a number of years. But some of the conversations I have in town, I wondered if these people think that Julian Jazz just come and say I come in there and I take it if he wasn't elected and that sort of thing. So it's always good to provide that clarity and obviously answering the tough questions, taking responsibility for shortcomings and that sort of thing. So I appreciate you guys coming on our set and setting the record clear for St. Lucia. All right. So St. Lucia, thank you very much for your contributions. I noticed during the end of the show that my phone wasn't buzzing anymore. So I'm not sure what happened, but I will get to the bottom of it and ensure that it never happens again. As a sportscaster, we have our shortcomings as well. And so we just want to thank you guys for joining us tonight on behalf of our entire sports team. Enjoy yourself. Have a good night.